Night in the Flowery community north of Vicksburg, where a man in his 20s was shot in the leg. WLBT reports the man accused is the father of the victim. A shootout in Moorhead. 4 people injured.
Two innocent people got caught in the crossfire, and one was in her mid-90s. She sustained non-life-threatening injuries.
Sunflower County Sheriff James Haywood talking to Mike Magazine. He says the shooting started about 10:45 in the parking lot of a discount store. No one was killed in the incident. More news in 1 hour on 103.9 WIAB. I'm Chris Davis.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are the individual views and opinions of the people expressing them and do not necessarily reflect those of this radio station, its parent, affiliated, or related entities, agents, or employees.
Welcome to Crossing the Aisle, the daily show where politics and relationships collide. I'm Shaun, a Democrat who believes in building bridges.
And I'm Lindsey, a Republican who thinks he's building them in the wrong direction.
Every day we break down the biggest political stories from both sides, we challenge each other's views, and somehow we still sit down for dinner.
No shouting matches, no echo chambers. Just real conversations around the issues that divide us and the common ground we can sometimes find.
So whether you're here to debate, learn, or just hear how a politically opposite couple makes it work,
this is Crossing the Aisle. Welcome into Crossing the Aisle on this beautiful, hot Thursday. Shaun, I'm stressing out.
Oh, God. What is it this time?
Well, I just really was hoping that we would get some Supreme Court answers today that we didn't get yet.
Yeah, well, which ones are the ones you're waiting on? It's the
the Maryland case with the books.
Yeah.
And the Pornhub case, that I worked so hard on here in Mississippi.
Right. That's when Pornhub pulled out of Mississippi.
That's right. Now,
so I'm rooting for Pornhub to come back.
You can't.
Yeah. Yes, I am.
Well, you can't.
I
put a lot of hard work into that, and I did not tell Pornhub to leave Mississippi. They decided to do it themselves.
Well, you and I disagree on that law completely, but we can
because you're wrong and I'm right.
I disagree with you there. I think we can talk about that once the opinion comes, or you can do it now.
Okay, everybody, y'all tell me what you think. Should children have access to porn? If you think so, then you agree with Shaun.
And
if
that's
you
completely
think no,
wrong way
then
to
you
phrase
agree with me.
Yeah, so that's a really nice way of phrasing the question there. Like, obviously, everybody's going to say no. That's not the point. What the law is that Lindsey got passed in Mississippi and many other states.
It's called age of verification.
That adults have to upload their ID to access pornographic sites, or I don't know, does that even include like R-rated movies? Or, I mean, what's the extent of that?
No, I think it's just pornographic content.
Okay.
But that keeps children away from that type of content.
But adults have to now, they have to upload their personal ID, which are subject to hacking.
They're just verifying your age, just like you go in a liquor store and buy liquor. They have to verify that you're of age, correct?
But you're not uploading your ID to the internet at that point.
No, but you're showing it to them.
You're showing it, but it's not subject to hacking or identity theft by doing that. I think that, you are always talking about parental rights and parents should be controlled. I agree with that. I think it's your responsibility to police what your children are doing.
But you also have to understand that when they go to school and they're handed a tablet or a computer with nothing stopping them from accessing that content when I'm not around, then I have to do what I have to do and pass a law to make sure they can't do it.
I mean, well, isn't that between you guys and the schools to worry about that? Not between every other adult in the state or the country or whatever?
I'm not affecting any adult.
Yeah, that absolutely does. It subjects them to their identity being stolen, their stuff being hacked.
Shaun, come on.
Absolutely. I think we should
get real. How many
times
do we upload things to pay for something or buy something? If you think the government doesn't already have, or organizations don't already have, or organizations don't already have your information, come on, get real. Our phones listen to everything we do and say.
I think it's emblematic of when people don't like conservative states because they're like, oh, really? I can't even watch porn. I got to upload my ID. It sounds
you can watch. Nobody said you can't watch porn.
I mean, I'm just saying, it sounds like complete overreach in my mind. But
we'll
wrong. See what the Supreme Court has to say about it tomorrow.
Yes. Well, I did hear that we may not get ruling tomorrow. That they may take another week and work overtime, which I'm hoping that does not happen because I'm on pins and needles over here waiting to get that ruling. And then also Maryland, who my friend Rosalind is actually one of the main players in that lawsuit that's gone all the way to the Supreme Court, which is a parent's right to opt out. So if they don't agree with the content that their children are being given, and let me tell you guys, in Maryland, they had a book that they required all children entering into kindergarten to read, which talked about, and Shaun, you've seen some of this book. It's called My Shadow is Pink, and it talks about whips and leather and lace and underwear. And there's like a search and find where you're looking for these items. These are 5-year-olds.
Okay. Yeah,
5-year-olds. It is absurd. And so parents should absolutely, we're not trying to ban the book. God forbid. We are saying parents should have the right to opt out of that if they find it inappropriate for their children, which it absolutely is. I don't think that we will have a problem with the Supreme Court on that one. I'm more worried about the Pornhub.
Yeah, I think you're right. We agree on the book case. I think that was something that, I think you should be able to opt out. I don't know why they're giving that to children in the first place. Now that's a completely different scenario than the age verification, though. Like, yes, do I think we should give porn books to kids? No, or anything that related matter. I don't see why that's relevant for them.
Those are your people, Shaun.
But yeah, and the age verification is your people with the Handmaid's Tale stuff. That's the problem.
No, we're not. It's Handmaid's Tale.
Complete Handmaid's Tale stuff.
How?
It is everything
because we want to protect children from being.
Then you can protect your own children. Don't let them access stuff.
I just gave you a
then you
scenario.
Go to the school and deal with that. That doesn't be pushed on everybody else.
No, when COVID happened, the federal government mandated that schools give children these devices.
Well, aren't you monitoring what your children is accessing on the internet? I mean,
the children are not with me when they're at school, Shaun.
So they're accessing porn while they're at school?
They very well can be.
They were all sitting there accessing porn.
It's happened, yeah.
It's happened.
It's happened.
There's no way there's a block on those kinds of things.
There are blocks, but there are get arounds on those blocks. And then when they leave the school with their device, their school issued device, that block is no longer there to protect them.
So they're at home monitored by the parents.
What about on the bus?
Oh, now I'm gonna worry on the bus. So because
I'm saying we should protect all children from being exposed to explicit, pornographic, obscene content.
Which is up to you as a parent. It's not up to the rest of the adults of the country to have to.
I'm not telling it to be up to the rest of the adults. I'm saying if you want to access that content, prove your age. Period.
I don't see why you should be required to just because you can't police what your children are doing. I don't think that's right.
I mean, are you saying I can't? Are you calling me a bad mom? You saying I can't police what my children are doing?
I'm saying you're putting that on other people.
You know I police what my children are doing.
I'm not talking about specifically you. I'm saying you're putting that on other people, because children
are not
being,
anyone.
You're saying children are not being policed what they're watching. Well, I think that's up to you or the school parents or whatever.
The schools don't necessarily care about the kids like the parents do. Obviously,
well, that's who should be in charge of that. It shouldn't be imputed on the entire population.
It's not. Just prove your age, and then you can watch all the porn you want.
But you're saying you only have to do that because you want to make sure children are accessing online. I'm saying that's
absolutely,
your responsibility.
Which is exactly what we do with alcohol. It's what we would do with pornographic.
You're not uploading your ID.
We would do that with pornographic magazines when people used to buy those or check out a movie at Blockbuster or wherever adult video stores. You have to show your ID.
You have
to prove your age.
If you could show it, you have to upload it in this situation. It's
because you're doing it digitally. Then don't do it that way. Go get porn another way.
That's a different infringement on your rights.
Then go get porn another way.
That's another infringement on your life. What if you want to go watch it on your tablet or your computer? That is you right as an adult.
Then prove your age and you can do it.
It's again.
We're never gonna
Handmaid's Tale stuff.
No, it's not Handmaid's Tale. Did you even watch that movie? Watch that show. That was about raping women and not allowing women who were in certain social situations to be able to live their lives. We've not done that whatsoever. Protecting children is completely different. You're being outrageous. Just like people don't like what we do and they call us Hitler.
I'm not being outrageous. You guys are being outrageous by putting that on everybody else. Now, I'm fine with your position on I don't think kids should access the books like in the Maryland case. That's different because the school's giving them this book. Yeah, okay, they shouldn't be able to do that. You should be able to opt out. But when you're trying to impute on the rest of the population because the schools and parents should be policing what their children do, and I think that's completely different entirely.
We're never going to agree on this.
No, we are not.
We did see a great ruling by the Supreme Court this morning, though, that with the Medicaid not in South Carolina, they passed a law that Medicaid could not fund Planned Parenthood, or there couldn't be Planned Parenthood type procedures that fell into Medicaid. And so they ruled that the state was right, and that law will continue to be.
I have not read the decision when I saw it, but I've not had a chance to read it. Well, I pulled up. The court held that Medicare beneficiaries do not have a private right under Section 1983 to sue states if they're blocked from seeing a provider they choose, even if that provider is Planned Parenthood, is willing and qualified. I'd have to get into it tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not yet. That's not what I was prepared for today.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just wanted to say, everybody be watching for the Supreme Court decisions.
All the Supreme Court decisions.
Hopefully we will get those two cases that I'm really looking at. Shaun, I know you're looking at birthright citizenship. That's a big one too that we're supposed to get tomorrow.
Which is I think people have to understand, it's not entirely about birth. It's the subject of it, birthright citizenship, but it's more about universal injunctions. So it's a little bit more complex.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, the subject is regarding the birthright citizenship executive order, but it's more, I think the court's taking up the universal injunction issue as far as I understand it, but we'll see tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll know more about those tomorrow, hopefully. Now that I've made Shaun all mad over there.
Yeah, I mean,
so we put a man to death, killed him right here in Mississippi last night.
Yeah, we did. So yesterday we executed Richard.
Hold on one second. We got a call coming in. Hey there, you're on the air.
Hey, Lindsey, what's up?
Hey.
I was just listening. I thought Shaun was pretty much totally wrong, and I'll give you my opinion on it. And the fact is that porn should have never been easily accessible on the internet to begin with.
That's a good point.
It should have never been. You could just load up, type in the P word or the D word or whatever, and it'd pop up a million pictures of it. That should have never happened. So Shaun, they got lazy, and oh, it's easy to get it. Now that we make it hard, like it's supposed to be, he wants to complain. And
no pun intended,
I don't want to upload my info to no website. I wouldn't do it anyway. But if you want to access that content, we need to prove you're of age. It boils down to, it's that simple. It's what society needs to keep our children safe, and it's what we need.
I completely agree. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
So there's one caller that agrees with me.
Well, I mean, we are on a conservative station. I assume most people are going to agree with you. So that's fine. If you want to upload your ID to access porn, actually, and it's funny, we're the one of the most porn usage states in the country too, which I think is funny.
Hey there, you're on the air.
Hey, I was just wondering. I mean, I know porn's a thing that everybody battles out over the internet, and whether you should be able to see it at whatever age. But what do you think about some of this graphic violence that spawned on the internet? That again, they have access to that.
That's a good question.
That doesn't seem to be a problem.
That's a great question. That's a
great point. I think that would be a lot harder to police because you can upload anything. I've seen videos on X that were extremely
I mean, I'm glad you brought up this point. I mean, actually, I wasn't really thinking about it, but I mean, you see people's heads getting blown off, chopped off, everything. Kid can access all of that. I mean, is that worse or less?
What's worse? Even Larry Flynn even said it. He's like, would you rather your kids see this or this?
He did.
He's showing that. So I've often thought of that since the movie. And I'll go back. I'm driving some blood to Atlanta.
No. Well, take care of that.
Yes, sir. Thanks so much. We appreciate it.
I think that's an excellent point.
It is. I mean, I don't agree with having children be able to access really graphic or violent content. I think that's going to be much more difficult to police.
But I think what I'm glad he brought that up. So what he's talking about, so we're picking and choosing what's worse. I think that's a good point. Like, I mean, that's what we're doing. We're picking and choosing what's worse. So is somebody's head getting blown off, chopped off, people getting executed? Is that less as bad as porn?
I think they're both bad.
Well, okay, so then
obviously we know that the synapses in the brain are not fully formed. For males, it's around 2021. I mean, for females, it's around 2021. Males, it's more 24, 25.
It's like 46.
Well, yeah, or older. Yeah. Goodness, they never grow up, do they?
No.
But I mean, we know that when the brain is not fully formed, it can't even take in and process all of that.
No, but it's right. So like both things, we agree. Okay, on the fundamental level, those things are bad for children to view. Where we all agree on that, right? It depends on what we're focusing on policing here. We seem to be focused on the pornography thing, which you might be right. Logistically, that would be simpler than how do you cast a wide net, I guess.
So we did pass a bill. It was actually my Representative Jill Ford's bill, the Walker-Montgomery Protecting Children Online Act. And what that bill did was it put the responsibility on the social media providers to make sure that children have a safe access to it. So I'm not even really sure how they were going to implement that. I think there was going to be discussions on that. And I know that is something that also I think was going to be taken all the way to the Supreme Court because obviously Google and
how do you police Google? Google just
well, they were a part of it. They were a part of it. I mean, they were listed in that bill So, that's one that we're still following too as well.
So then what we're talking about is like this total if both things are equally bad, pornography and
for children,
for children, right? I get it. Then we're talking about policing everything on the internet.
No,
somehow,
what I was saying is the Walter Montgomery Act, what it did was put the responsibility on the social media and Google, the big names that children find content. Well, they're supposed to have a process set up to protect children. I don't know, ask their age or have parents verify it. I'd have to go back and look at all the bill language to be completely sure about it, because I don't actually remember. But I agree. I don't think that children should be exposed to extremely graphic, violent content.
Well, no, I think so. I think we both agree on that. I think everybody agrees that children shouldn't be able to see any of that stuff. What we're talking about is what's the extent that we go to police this that affects everybody else. And so we're focused on pornography, which, like you said, was logistically probably easier, which that's probably true. But there's all this horrible violence out there. They can just do a Google search and look at that, and that's fine. And nobody said it's fine. We didn't say it's fine. But nobody's done anything to like prevent that.
That's what that's what this bill was
sort
doing.
of, right? But
that's what the reason for it was.
Right, but nothing's happened yet to that extent. It was so it's kind of like when I always see on the right, everybody's focused on Pride Month or gay stuff, but nobody talks about adultery, and both are sins, right? So why are they not focused on both those things? They're only focused. I'm
just talking about protecting children.
So
that's what I'm talking about. That's where my heart is. That's where my passion lies, and so that's what I'm going to continue to do. But we are going to take a break, and then we are actually going to talk about the man who was put to death in Mississippi, who has been on death row since the 70s, and we are going to get into that and all of our thoughts, feelings, and opinions on that. If you want to call in and tell us how you feel, the number here to the station is 601-879-0002, and we will be right back here on WIB after this short break. We will be right back here on WIB after this short break.
.1039 WYAB.
Are you looking to get stronger, fitter, and push your limits? CrossFit Fondren is where Jackson trains. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned athlete, our expert coaches and supportive community will help you crush your goals. Join us for high-intensity workouts that build strength, endurance, and confidence. No gimmicks, just real results. Try your first class today for free. Visit us at CrossFitFondren.com or stop by the gym 3002 North Mill Street in Jackson, in the heart of Fondren.
Americans for Prosperity is Mississippi's and the country's leading grassroots organization dedicated to promoting economic freedom and personal liberty. Americans for Prosperity advocates for limited government, free market policies, and empowering individuals. When given freedom and opportunity, Americans are capable of extraordinary things. If you are ready to make a difference in our community and want to get involved, then visit AmericansForProsperity.org. Be a part of positive change at AmericansForProsperity.org. Paid for by Americans for Prosperity.
I'm Shaun Yurtkaran, and I've spent nearly 20 years in the courtroom, first as a prosecutor in Hinds County, now fighting for my clients as a defense attorney. I know how the system works, and I know how to protect your rights. If you're facing criminal charges, don't wait. Call me at 601-862-1320 or visit me at onetextlaw.com. That's onetextlaw.com. Serious cases need serious defense. And remember, just because you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. Let's get to work.
Doctor, the AC doctor, what's your diagnosis? My whole house was hot as a fever. Now my house is frozen, cause my air conditioner's on. Doctor, my AC's broken. Doctor, the AC doctor, heal my house, bless my soul.
The AC Doctors is your one-stop provider for air conditioning and heating installation, service, and repair. Contact us for money-saving repairs and lower energy bills.
Doctor, the AC doctor, heal my house, bless my soul.
Google the AC Doctors and get some relief today. TheACDR.com.
Bad decisions limit future options. Make enough bad decisions and you will destroy your life. Listen to The Flatline with your host, Rick Hughes, every Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m. here on 1039 WYAB. Join us every Sunday for 30 minutes of inspiration, motivation, education, all without manipulation. That's The Flat Line with Rick Hughes, heard here on 103.9 WYAB each Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m. The weather is heating up and the deals are even hotter at Mazda of Jackson. Right now at Mazda of Jackson, you can drive home your dream Mazda with low financing rates available. 2.9% for 72 months on most models, or finance 36 months and pay just 0.9%. That's right, 0.9%. Experience Mazda's exhilarating performance, top-notch safety, and reliability. It's time to choose Mazda. Shop online at MazdaofJackson.com or visit Mazda of Jackson, I-55 Frontage Road in Jackson.
Hello, WYAB listeners. My name is Rob Montgomery. I'm a minister in the Church of God, and I'm honored to be the regional overseer for the Church of God of Louisiana and Mississippi. I invite you to listen to my program, Arise Shine, on Sunday mornings, where I'll share the Lord's thoughts to my heart for you. Arise Shine will include Bible messages, encouraging thoughts, and a biblical view of current events. It's my hope that you'll be blessed.
Tune in to Arise Shine, Sunday mornings, 10:30 to 11.
Come together.
We are back here on Crossing the Aisle with Shaun and Lindsey. We'll try not to argue as much this segment.
We'll wait for tomorrow.
Yeah, that should be good, huh?
Yeah, that'll be fun.
By the way, tomorrow, if you have a daughter, a young daughter, my representative who I adore, she is the very best, Jill Ford, is having her annual Girls' Day at the Capitol at 10 o'clock to 11:30 tomorrow morning. So bring your daughter, let her wear a pretty dress, and come meet Miss Mississippi. I think our AG Lynn Fitch will be there speaking. And
if you're a police officer, don't go.
And,
Right.
and hang with my representative Jill Ford and Miss Mississippi and Miss Teen Mississippi. So that should be a fun thing. Lori is super excited. She's got her dress picked out and she wants to wear her pink shining cowboy boots with it. So
yeah,
should be fun. You want to come with us, Shaun?
No, I'll pass. Yeah.
So this is a topic that you are or should be well versed in, because you actually put a man on death row in Mississippi.
Yeah. So the Richard Gerald Jordan was executed yesterday, and he was the state's oldest and longest serving death row inmate, 79 years old, Lindsay, 79. And he's been
on death row since he was how old?
I think they had a lot of. So look at the facts of it. So in January of 1976, he kidnapped and murdered a woman named Edwina Martyr. And I think she was a wife of a Gulfport bank president or something like that. And it was like a ransom plot that he held her for ransom. And then
so she didn't know him.
Yeah. He took her from her home and he shot her in the DeSoto National Forest and tried to get $25,000 from the husband, trying to extort him, at the time. And he killed her. And I think he got the money too, or something like that. I don't know all the facts, but pretty bad, horrible case. And so he has been, on, I don't know if he's been on death row. I don't know that he received the death penalty every time he was tried. There was like 4 trials.
How long did it take him to catch him? Do you know?
I think right away. I think he was caught right away. He's been in prison since 76, as far as I know. And I think that he wasn't actually, a lot of times when you try a death penalty case, the case will get overturned. So even if you get the death penalty, it'll get reversed and you have to send it back and retry it. And it happens in a lot of cases. And I think that happened in this. I think it finally stuck in 1998. So I think they tried him like a 4th time, if I read that before correctly. And but he's been there for 50 years, and they just executed him yesterday.
50 years.
Almost. Yeah. Next year will be 50
Wow.
years. So really long time. And it brings up a lot of questions about the death penalty, things I've thought about for years, especially since I, was the lead prosecutor on a death penalty case, had to make those decisions. And, you reflect on them a lot because it's something you did. And at the time so this case that I tried, when it was back in 2013, the crime actually happened in 2010, where James Cobb Hutto kidnapped Ethel Simpson, who was 81 years old at that time. He met her at the Healthplex of the Clinton and the Baptist in Clinton, and then took her out to the casinos. They had a night of party in the casino. She was a real lively person, actually, for that age. I always thought it was, I had to learn a lot about her because I worked on the case for years.
Yeah.
And she was a pretty fun person from all accounts. And so she was at the casino with him, and he's like 40 years younger than her, And yeah, right. So she's a cool woman. And then he drove her back and dumped her in a hog field out in
after he killed her.
He took her out there and he killed her and put her in a hog pen out in Edwards. So and then he stole her Mercedes, drove to Alabama, where he murdered another elderly woman with his bare hands. Then he drove down to Auburn. And this is kind of interesting part of that story. And he tried to kill this other guy, and I don't mean to laugh because the guy was like this. I know him, because I had to interview him a lot of times. He was like this kind of far out hippie dude. And he's selling some of his land out in Auburn, and like Hutto like met him at a gas station, and they go out to this land, and then Hutto just like picks up like an actual boulder and like beats this guy near to death. And this dude like crawls to the street and is saved, and he lives, and he's fine now. But anyway, so Hutto then decided to go to the Auburn football game, and that was, I know you don't know a lot about sports, but that was Cam Newton's national championship season.
I know about Auburn because I lived in Alabama for a while, so I know about Cam Newton.
Yeah, it was Cam Newton's season, and so he got busted on the way there, and
got to call Cam Newton.
Yeah.
See who this is. Hey there, you're on the air.
Hey, I'm proud you have posed this question. I hope I'm not interrupting the train of thought. I was trying to pull over so I could call. I was a juror, a potential juror on a death penalty case. Okay. And one of the questions that I was told during voir dire was, do you believe in the death penalty? Would you support the death penalty? Mm-hmm. And my answer, which I felt was the most honest one I could give, was I said, I don't know. I have never been a victim of a violent crime, nor has anyone that I've known or loved been a victim of a violent crime. So I don't know how to truly answer that because I don't know the facts of the case. And so I was really uncomfortable just to have a blanket question of being a potential juror. Are you for or against? Because I thought that is so patently unfair because, like I said, I don't know the details of the case and I've never been a victim of it. And so it was really awkward for me. And I was just going to ask Shaun, being a former prosecutor and everything, how do they take, I was not picked, but how do they handle questions like that when jurors say, I don't know, because we really, truly don't know. I don't know if I could say, yes, I believe in taking a life, or no, I don't, when you really don't know because you aren't in that situation. And
right.
If you've never experienced anything like that, but what do y'all think about that?
You might feel differently if it was a stranger or if it was your family member.
Yeah.
That's how I
absolutely. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I would too. That's what I'm saying is if you've never been in that situation, and that's what I said was I've never been in that situation. So for me to just give a blanket statement, yes, I would, or no, I would not, I couldn't answer honestly because I said I haven't been in that situation. So, I know the law says that it's legal in this country, and I support the law, but I wondered, is it a bad thing to say you just don't know if you're a potential juror? Is that looked bad upon by attorneys, or how does Shaun feel about that?
Well, I can tell you exactly what that is. What it is when you during voir dire, when you pick a jury for a death penalty case, they have to be what's called death qualified. And so you can't be against the death penalty. You have to be, not necessarily you've got to say, rah, 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 I love the death penalty, but you got to say, yes, it's a something I'd be willing to impose. So it's called being death qualified. And those questions are specific to those kinds of cases. So that's probably why you got excused, because you said, I didn't know.
Yeah. My honest answer was, I don't know if I could or couldn't, which was, I guess that was the answer that I should have given because I really didn't know.
Yeah, that was right. You just got to be honest. And, when I tried my death penalty case, there was lots of people that said that I don't know how to feel about it.
So going into it, you knew that the death penalty was on the table.
Yeah, that's
that's when you ask that question in voir dire.
Well, they'll get juror questionnaires beforehand, and so we'll have those questionnaires. In most cases, you don't get that big, huge questionnaire that you will get in a death penalty case, and that will ask certain questions like that, and you have to evaluate. If it doesn't have to be again like, yes, man, I'm going to give it under every circumstance. It just means that you're willing to do it. And so when you say I don't know or I'm not sure, then that wouldn't make you a death qualified juror. So that's the reason.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, well, thank you for explaining that to me.
Yes, thanks for the call.
So what I was saying, I was talking, I guess it was in the middle talking about Hutto. So then he came back here and we got the first crack at him, to try him here for that.
And I've seen a couple of clips from that trial and he was downright crazy. He represented himself.
He's not crazy. This is Supreme Court said, remember that. Did
he represent himself? Is that right?
No, he was represented by, two lawyers, Andre Degree and Michael Knapp, who are good lawyers, and
he would just start screaming in the middle of the trial and not making any sense.
He flicked off he took middle finger to the jury because we had actually picked a jury in Lafayette County and brought him back to Jackson. So they were so he like put his middle fingers up and told the jury to go that Oxford sucked. I mean, it was like he would just do the craziest things. And then during a trial, you're not allowed to get into other crimes. So the murder in Alabama and the attack on the other guy, I couldn't get into, but I had.
But he did, didn't he?
Yeah, he got into it. So I subpoenaed those witnesses in case he does what's called opening the door. And so in the middle of the trial, Hutto gets up from the counsel table and says, "They're not telling you about those other people I killed." And I'm like, "Oh, I want to now." Judge didn't let me, which was the right decision. And
So Shaun, as a prosecutor, is it you that decides that you want to go after did you make that decision that you wanted to potentially get a death conviction?
Well, that's an interesting story. And so now I'll tell it because generally the district attorney is going to make that decision. The district attorney will make that call, not one of the assistants. Robert, had given me the go ahead to do it. And we had actually offered him life without parole, Hutto. But during the middle of the guilty plea, he backed off and told us all to go F ourselves. So we're like, okay, well, I guess we're going with the death penalty. And Robert made that decision for us. And I tried it with a woman named Laura Hunter, who works at the U.S. or did work at the U.S. Attorney's Office now. So that's how the way it works. The district attorney will make that call, and they'll evaluate it based on different factors. How heinous the crime is now, because there's a lot of crimes you got to be charged with capital murder to be eligible for the death penalty. That means a murder in the course of another underlying felony, which are 12 of them, I think.
Does it matter if you're remorseful or does that have a say so?
You can put that on once you've been convicted, and there goes to another. It's like another trial. It's bifurcated. It's called the death phase of the trial, and you could put on mitigating circumstances into the crime because you have the jury actually has to come to two verdicts. They come to the first verdict that you're guilty, and then you do kind of a mini trial to see whether you're going to get the death penalty or be sentenced to life without parole.
Gotcha. Well, we're up against our next commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about this man who they put to death last night, and if Shaun's views and opinions on the death penalty have changed since he got that death conviction against this crazy man, who I guess was not crazy, Hutto, which was the last death penalty, right, in the state of Mississippi.
In Hinds County.
In Hinds County. Okay. Well, y'all stay with us. We will be right back here at WIAB 103.9. Well, y'all stay with us. We will be right back here at WIAB 103.9.
103.9 WYAB.
Pure Air Consultants has always been your go-to for reliable and affordable heating and cooling systems, and now we are offering day and night brand to avoid the 25 to 30% increases that everyone is talking about. With day and night, Pure Air Consultants professionals can install a reliable system with a 10-year system warranty, and right now receive $20 off on service diagnostic fees. Call us today, 601-939-7420, mypureairconsultants.com.
Peace, love, and pizza. Happy Collie Days from Johnny's Pizza House. Try our new cauliflower crust today. 10 inches of crunchy good vibes for a limited time only. Groove on in and share a slice today. Peace, love, and pizza from Johnny's Pizza House.
Win free pizza for a year this summer at Johnny's Pizza House. Your pizza's already a work of art. Now, let it win you free pizza for a year. Just snap a pic with your favorite pizza and enter to win at johnnysph.com/share-my-slice. Peace, love, and pizza at Johnny's Pizza House.
Nick Bain served Mississippi for over a decade in the State House. During that time, he fought for our children by protecting them against explicit materials pushed by the woke agenda. He protected taxpayers by streamlining government and helped create policies that have made Mississippi better. Nick and his team at Bain Bowen will use the same tenacity in helping you with all your legal matters. Call them today at 601-953-2994. Find Nick online at bainbowen.com. That's BAIN Bowen.com.
Did you know that the average 6-room house collects 40 pounds of dust each year? Local business Pure Air Consultants duct cleaning service can rid your home of the dust, dirt, and debris that may be caught in your air ducts. They can eliminate the mold, fungi, and microbes that might be growing inside your ductwork and polluting the air you breathe in your home. Mention WYAB and receive a free UV light with system replacement. Visit online at mypureairconsultants.com. mypureairconsultants.com.
CBS News Brief. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth held a combative briefing with reporters today to bolster the administration's arguments that U.S. attacks destroyed key Iranian nuclear facilities.
The reality is you want to call it destroyed, you want to call it defeated, you want to call it obliterated. Choose your word.
A divided Supreme Court today allowed South Carolina to cut off Medicaid funding for Planned Parenthood. Legal analyst Thane Rosenbaum.
This decision by the Supreme Court is only going to make it more difficult for Planned Parenthood to function without federal money from patients.
It comes amid a wider Republican-backed push to defund the organization. Analyst Jill Schlesinger on new numbers showing the economy shrank more than initially reported in the first quarter.
There was a huge uptick in imports, a deceleration in consumer spending, and also a downturn in government spending.
On Wall Street, the Dow is up 345 points. CBS News Brief, I'm Cammie McCormick.
At Lakeshore Church, we believe the liberation of the soul is found only in Christ. Hello, I'm Jay Frazier, Senior Pastor at Lakeshore, inviting you to come and worship with us this week. We believe in the three-cross concept of ministry, the cross of salvation, the cross of separation, and the cross of service, and we believe all of these crosses should be evident in our lives. We're at 6880 South Sidewell Road in Byram. For more information about the ministries, activities, and times of service, go to lakeshorecmc.org.
And be sure to listen to Lakeshore Church's weekly program, heard Sunday mornings at 8 on 103.9 WYAB.
How do you get the hell out of your life?
Turn to Jesus. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through him.
You trust in him, and you let him love the hell right out of you.
How do you get the hell out of your life?
Replace it with Jesus. We got to be born again, born of the Spirit, and that's by trusting Jesus Christ, turning from our sins and trusting Jesus.
Tune in to Get the Hell Out of Your Life every Sunday at 10 a.m. on 103.9 WYAB.
Hi, it's Jackson author Jeff Pettigo, and I've written a satirical novel you should read called City Zoo, an Unfairy Story, a witty Orwellian animal fable about the lying fake news media. What happens is a former circus elephant runs for animal zookeeper, and all the monkeys in the zoo's fairy tale news media go crazy trying to take him out. Sounds familiar. It's the perfect pop culture satire for the beach. Learn more about the novel City Zoo at cityzoo.us. cityzoo.us.
Dr. Bobby C. Pankey and Associates proudly welcome optometrists Mary Lou Puglisi and Dylan Pankey to their team of eye care professionals. Both share Optical 2000's commitment to offering you and your family the highest quality eye care, blending state-of-the-art technology with personalized service. After your eye exam, step next door to the optical shop, which features select frames, Gucci, Tom Ford, Calvin Klein, Lacoste, Maui Jim, Scott Harris, Michael Ryan, and others. Optical 2000 in Clinton and Richland.
Come together right now.
We are back here on Crossing the Aisle with Shaun and Lindsey, where we are talking about the death penalty when it comes to murders in the state of Mississippi. And we talked about this morning, just Shaun and I, and that's kind of what I was saying, what our caller was saying. You know, I don't really know how I feel about it. I don't think it's my job to decide when someone dies. But I might think differently if it was my mom that was killed or my, daughter. So if it was one of my children, I mean, I'd be probably kill them before they could get the death penalty, to be honest. But Shaun, how do you feel about it now? Do you feel differently than you have in the past as a prosecutor when you've actually gotten a death penalty conviction?
I'll tell you, that actually made me think of something. Yeah, if it was one of my loved ones, I would want to kill him too. I'm not going to lie. Like, that's the kind of personality I got. But I respect people. So one time there was there were nuns that were murdered, and we were going to seek the death penalty, and the family didn't want it, because they went grace, which I always respected people that have that can, because that takes a lot, what I mean?
Forgive something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that really, really does. So I've seen that before too, which really always impresses me because I'm not capable of that. I wish I were, but I'm not. My thing is, I look at the law as more, it's the law can't just be about any one person. It can't just be about what is going to make you feel good. Now, you always want the victims to be happy in the situation, but the law has got to, it benefits society as a whole. And so the question over the years, since now it's been 12 years, I've asked myself is the death penalty deterrent to crime? And the answer unequivocally is no. It doesn't deter crime. Nobody just doesn't kill someone, or commit a capital murder because they're like, you know what, I might get the death penalty. I mean, if you're not going to kill somebody, you're just not going to kill them because you're like, I don't want to go to jail. And, there's a lot of us probably want to kill, but the reason we don't is because you're listening to that. It's not because of the death penalty. Now, somebody's actually going to do it, like is going to commit a murder, they're not thinking about that. They're just not. So it's not deterring any crime in my mind. So that's the biggest thing to me. Another thing is, we've seen since I think 1980, there's been like 190 people that were exonerated that were on death row. I looked that up this morning.
So we've seen innocent people be
exonerated,
put to death or be on death row and then prove that they're innocent.
Yeah, 190 since 1980 have been exonerated and let go.
That's a good point. So what if we're wrong?
Yeah, what if you're wrong? I mean, and I know the counter argument to that is always, well, I mean, they're still stuck in prison for life. Well, it's like they got more time to prove their innocence that way. Though it's harder when you just have a life sentence because people are not, outside groups aren't as focused on it as they are with the death penalty case.
But there's new technology constantly. I mean, DNA is a thing now that wasn't years ago that has been used to solve cases and exonerate people who have been wrongly accused and convicted.
Sure. I mean, especially in the past, DNA, we look at DNA today like, oh God, I mean, like it's we must have had this forever, but that's not true. As recently as the 1990s, they had it, but it wasn't as readily available as that. Yeah, it was harder to use. You could I think you would destroy. I don't know all the science behind it, but you destroy the samples easier, and it just wasn't as prevalent as now. I mean, I used to send it off to the lab when we were trying armed robbery cases. I remember I had this one kid who baseball cap flew off his head, and we found the hat, and then we sent it to the DNA lab, and they were like, oh, that's him. So we use it for everything now.
Mm-hmm.
But back then they didn't. So there were a lot of cases where you'd find that, and like I said, 190 so far in the last 45 years. So that's important. Also, if you look at it's 3 times more expensive to do a death penalty case all the way through to talking about the trial, the appeal process, the appellate process, all that stuff, than it is to someone be sentenced to life without parole.
Because that's the argument you hear from a lot of people that, well, it costs so much to house them, like $100,000 a year to house an inmate. But what you're saying is to get to that point, you're already paying to house them for years and years and years until they're finally put to death. But then to get through the trial and the conviction and the appeals, that costs even more.
Yeah, I mean, so I looked at the actual stats on that. So a life without parole case, the total, including incarceration and the case, is between $750,000 and $1 million for one person. Okay, for a death penalty case, it's between 1.5 and 3 million. So I mean, it's a lot more expensive to do that. And I guess you got to ask yourself, what are we getting? Well, I guess we get retribution. The victim's family gets that, but is that worth the cost? And the fact that you might get somebody's innocent, or that it's not deterring any crime. What's the value to society as a whole is my question with that. It's not, I don't have like this, obviously I'm as a lead prosecutor on a death penalty case. Obviously I don't have this liberal conviction of like, the morality of putting someone to death. That doesn't bother me. I wonder about the utility of it more than anything.
See, that does bother. That's the part that does bother me.
You, right?
Because I'm thinking, this is not my call. Like vengeance is God's, and they're going to have to answer for that. Now, should they be let on the street? Absolutely not. If they're a murderer, but at the same time, I don't think it's my decision to end a life.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what you're extending that to the state. You don't think the state should have?
Yeah, I don't think it should be anybody's decision to end another human life,
but
which is why we think murder's wrong in the first place.
Well, right. That's from a religious thing, and a lot of people hold religious views like that, especially Catholics and whatnot, and that's fine. And I think that's.
But again, if it was one of my kids, I'd feel completely different.
You feel different, so that's why we can't take into account. I think you can't just base it on any one person's feelings. When it's a personal relationship, and we do that a lot when it's a death penalty because somebody's family member got killed.
Because it was somebody's sister or mother or daughter,
and you can understand
why
they're
best friend. Yeah.
I would be like, let me put the juice in them now myself. I mean, I get it.
So I don't even think that would be good enough. Like I'd want them to feel pain.
Yeah, I mean, so.
Hey there, you're on the air.
He got me on quick. I was expecting a minute, but anyway, so according to the law, the law is not applied until we know what you did. The extent of what you did, that equates to how much law we apply to this situation, right? Does that make sense, Shaun?
No, I'm trying. What do you mean exactly? Like you talk about like whether the case
you said, like we can't, apply the law without knowing, what they did. And once we know what they did, once we know the extent of what they did,
like once it's been proven,
whatever,
then
we can apply the right law to match their crime, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, you can tell like if something's a murder or a capital murder, right?
So, I mean, you have to establish their crime and whether they're guilty or not. And once we know they're guilty and we know they did it, then you apply the law that matches that crime. And if it equates to the death penalty, then you got to look at like, well, I mean, like this guy, Jordan, 50 years.
Yeah.
50 years. How many appeals?
Tons of them. Lots of them. Yeah, lots of them.
So that's adding to that number you posted out just a minute ago on the air that, you know, it's so much more expensive to keep them and pursue the death penalty. Well, that's the reason.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to go through 50 years to get him to the death chair. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, the second longest serving inmate's been there for 30 and a half years right now, William Manning.
Yeah. So you see what I'm saying? So you can't really use that number from, you know, life without parole to the death penalty as a true number because they don't die within, you know, if we get them off the first 3 or 4 years, they wouldn't have that extra time of appeals and court and of 50 years of that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't if the
that
appellate process was shorter.
Obsolete.
But it's the actual number because that's what does happen, though, you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the problem is not that it was a death penalty. The problem was we didn't execute it
right
for 50 years. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, and that's another, you know,
and even with 50 years of appeals and all that, he still got put to death.
Right. I mean, that's another.
You know what I'm saying? So it was a whole 50 years of wasted time. We could have done it the first year and come to the same conclusion.
But then I think about what if he was innocent? Like, what if it is somebody who is actually innocent and they need those appeals to prove their innocence?
That's the process of the law. We have to make sure they're guilty. We have to make sure they committed the crime. And once we know they did without, you know, no shadow of a doubt, they did it, then we should not let them appeal for another 49 years. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but sometimes, you know, it's hard to do that in a short time frame. Like
it is.
Like,
I understand that. So that was one argument. The other one was I done lost it. So
all right.
I'll get off here and let y'all keep.
Thanks.
Thanks. We appreciate the call.
Yeah, I think I understand what he's saying. That's one of the arguments in favor of the death penalty. If it were swiftly applied, would it be a deterrent? And I think in that aspect, if you committed a crime and you know you were getting the juice in 3 years, it might deter some crime. I think that is accurate. The problem is that we do have, I don't know if you want to call it a problem or not. I mean, we have an appellate process that has to be played out, and then their rights have to be protected in that context. Now, I was going to reference the case of Kennedy Brewer. One of my good friends, represented him back in 1992, I think it was, and he was exonerated, I think, like in 2008. So, I mean, you had that's a significant amount of time right there. What is that, like 15, 16 years?
And his innocence was proven.
Yeah, it was actually finally the DNA evidence just cleared him. So there's cases like that take that long to prove somebody that, like, hey, this guy didn't actually do it. And so
how sad would it be had he been put to death?
Right.
And then the evidence showed that he was actually innocent.
Yeah, and that's the concern that we've got. So, I mean, based on the system that we have, it just doesn't seem to be. It doesn't have the deterrent effect that we thought it would. I mean, obviously we've been putting people to death for centuries through human history.
So basically, we both seem to be against it if it's not our family members, but we're against it for different reasons. I
mean, I'm not against it to the point where we need to abolish it. No, I mean, I'm just saying if you look at it,
that's how I feel too.
I'm not like one of those guys like we got to abolish the death penalty, but I think that, if you're just being intellectually honest, it's not working the way I think it's intended to work.
Aren't there states who have abolished the death penalty?
Yeah, there's several states that have done that.
Do you know how many still enforce it and how many don't? I was just wondering. I didn't know if you knew that off the top of your head or not.
Off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of states that have abolished it. I mean, I think New York State, that's Luigi Mangione with the healthcare murder. New York has abolished it, so that's why the feds, I think, are going after him. Then there's several states. I mean, Minnesota, I remember, is one of them. I mean, there's a lot in the Northeast. It's 23 states have abolished it. So it's Alaska, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Iowa, Maine. Iowa, wow, wouldn't expect that. Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Dakota. I guess that
the more liberal states, it seems.
Well, some are North Dakota. I mean, so Kristi Noem's execution of her dog, whether that was legal or not.
That was is she South Dakota?
No, I think she was North. I could be wrong. I get them confused. Rhode Island, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, West Virginia. Wow, I never thought West Virginia.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that either.
And Wisconsin. So, all
right, we got to take our last commercial break of the day, but y'all stay with us. We'll be right back here to wrap things up on WIB 103.9. We'll be right back here to wrap things up on WIB 103.9.
1039 WYAB.
I'm Shaun Yurtkaran, and I've spent nearly 20 years in the courtroom, first as a prosecutor in Hinds County, now fighting for my clients as a defense attorney. I know how the system works, and I know how to protect your rights. If you're facing criminal charges, don't wait. Call me at 601-862-1320 or visit me at onetextlaw.com. That's onetextlaw.com. Serious cases need serious defense. And remember, just because you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. Let's get to work.
Are you a wine enthusiast? Are you looking for the perfect bottle to elevate your next dinner? The ultimate destination for wine lovers is 042 Wine and Spirits on West Government Street in Brandon. They're locally owned, they're locally operated, and 042 Wine offers something for everyone, from local favorites to rare vintage wines. 042 Wine and Spirits can help you find your next favorite wine. The friendly and knowledgeable folks at 042 Wine and Spirits will help you find the perfect bottle for every occasion. 042 Wine and Spirits, located on West Government Street in Brandon.
Well, I'm sitting here today with one of my favorite clients, Reggie Brumfield. The first time I believe we worked together was around 25 years ago, wasn't it, Reggie?
I remember that time my wife, Kathy, and I were looking for a home. He sold that house to us, and when we got ready to buy another home, he helped us sell that home and buy another home. So 25 years later, when we decided to purchase another home, your name was the only one in our minds.
601-720-4037, RitaJensen.net.
Are you hosting an event? Let Burgers Blues Barbecue handle the food while you enjoy the moment. From an important lunch to a dreamy wedding, B3 Catering is sure to please everyone. Find Burgers Blues Barbecue online and click the catering tab, or just give us a call. And when you're dining out, visit Burgers Blues Barbecue in Flowood, Brandon, or Madison for incredible plates served fresh daily. Burgers Blues Barbecue and B3 Catering, a delicious combination.
You know what's a nightmare? We've all seen that movie where the bad guy's coming and your gun jams up. Luckily, that's just a movie, but you can't take the chance it could happen to you in real life. Hey, y'all, I'm Therese Apel from Dark Horse Press, and I've written stories about a whole lot of situations where people needed their gun to work for them. So if yours is moody or likes to jam, you need to take it to Guns and Gear. Let their professional gunsmiths look at it and fix it so it'll work when you need it. They're the absolute best at what they do, and that's why I buy all my guns from them. That's Guns and Gear in Gluckstadt. Check them out today.
If you want the best health care, where do you go? The Mayo Clinic. If you want the best care for your vehicle, where do you go? Mayo Auto Clinic in Raymond. Mayo Auto Clinic does foreign and domestic vehicles and diesel repair. Mayo Auto Clinic has ASE certified techs with over 25 years of experience. You can extend the life of your car or truck when you take it to Mayo Auto Clinic. For cost-effective repairs and maintenance, go to the best, Mayo Auto Clinic. Open weekdays at 7 a.m. Highway 18 in Raymond.
Attention homeowners and business owners. Complete Exteriors is now Elite Roofing and Gutters. Are your roof and gutters storm ready? The folks at Elite are your local experts in storm protection. Now is the time for an inspection and for proactive solutions that ensure your roof and gutters can withstand any storm. Get up to a possible $250 rebate on a new roofing system for all active military, veterans, and retirees. Online at EliteRoofer.com.
The mowing season is full on here in Mississippi. I'm David Frederick, owner of Frederick Sales and Service in Brandon. The industry-changing Exmark Laser Z commercial mower turns 30 years old this year and has been redesigned with even more great features you just have to see. We have a sale going on with instant rebates, and 0% financing is available too. Stop by our store and let our award-winning staff show you the Exmark difference. Fredericks and Exmark, over 3 decades serving you in Brandon since 1993.
Come together right now over me.
We are back here on Crossing the Aisle to wrap things up. Yes, I was right again, Shaun. South Dakota.
Is your Ice Barbie's home state? Sorry, I thought it was North Dakota. But why are there 2 Dakotas anyway?
I don't know. But you said 26 states do not have the death penalty. Yeah, 24 do. So more don't.
More don't now than do. So that's kind of where we're
very interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah. So mainly it's states in the South that have kept it, is what I'm reading here. So, but So anyway, well, let's
very interesting topic.
What was I going to say? Well, I did. I wanted to mention this. So I know we're running out of time, but I really liked the show yesterday that I missed with you and Morgan, Charlie.
Yes,
so I
yeah,
can say
Charlie.
That, right.
So I was right about that.
Women's wellness. So everybody get out there and
go
check out.
Give them a call. I'm gonna hope to get that promo code for you guys that you can text in really soon. But yes,
I've got some ideas for the coach. He doesn't want me to use them, but
all right, we gotta go. See you tomorrow. Bye.